morning to our cherished viewers and our students who are offering this course, EDC241, Psychology of Human Development and Learning. We are all welcome from the break and Happy New Year to all of us. This course is meant for level 200 students who are doing this course for this semester. For the first semester, we are going to begin with some basic concepts that we need to understand in order to be able to understand the bigger topic, Psychology of Human Development and Learning for the semester. As we've been doing over the past, we want to recap on what we have been told and what we have learned. But there are some concepts that we need to actually learn to be able to lay a very solid foundation for us to understand what the concepts are. In the first place, we want to find out what is the meaning of psychology before we now zoom to the basic concepts that we need to understand today. When we're talking about psychology, we are referring to the scientific processes of studying human behavior and mental processes. The scientific study of human behavior and mental processes. There are some key words in the definition, and when you take note of that, you will see that scientific is there. You can also see that behavior is there and mental processes are there. These are key words that we need to be aware of when we are trying to define the concept psychology. Psychology actually explores how individuals think, how we feel, and how we act in various contexts. Key areas include cognition, emotion, and perception and behavior. So these are things that we need to be aware of in terms of how we look at psychology and what psychology actually aims to tell us. Psychology is coming from the Greek word which means psyche, and psyche means what the mind. Then logos or logia, which means a plural, is actually the study of something. So when we put the two key words together, we will see that psychology is a scientific study of something. And this something refers to the way we act, the way we control emotions, and the way we behave or perceive at times. These are key concepts that we need to be aware of. So students who are doing this course, I know economics department, political science, home economics, you are doing this course for this semester. So it's good that the students are actually with us and they get to understand the concept that I want to share with them this morning. Remember, this topic is very important because it lays the foundation for the entire topic for the semester. So we need to get in touch with ourselves and get ourselves organized for the radio lecture as we continue. Now, we want to find out the various goals of psychology, which is very important. There are some key goals that we want to actually focus on for this semester and for the sake of this course. And the goals are going to be classified as 4. First of all, we look at describe behavior as one of the paramount goals of psychology. And we understand that psychology deals with how we observe and describe behavior and mental processes. The second one is that we are looking at how to explain behavior. And psychology helps us be able to understand why behavior occurs the way it is. Then the third one, we want to predict behavior. And this helps us be able to anticipate behavior in given situations as humans. We are aware that situations will predict how we should always act. So as we are looking at psychology, we also want to understand that in such situations that we find ourselves to be happy, our way of behaving is different from when we are not happy. So these are key things that we need to be aware of in studying the course. The next thing, we want to control behavior. There are some behaviors of human beings that are positive and others are negative. We want to find out which of them are negative, which of them are positive. The positive ones are the goods that we want to actually encourage. But the negative one, we should be able to control the behavior so that it doesn't actually land the individual into more troubles. We also want to find out the actual way the course is supposed to help us be able to understand some key things in life. So we are saying that psychology of human development and learning is a scientific study of how and why we grow, how we change, and how we adapt across the lifespan. The lifespan simply means when we were given birth, the time we were conceived to the time we die, it forms part of our lifespan as humans. So psychology focuses on understanding the physical, the cognitive, emotional, social, and moral changes that occur from conception to death. So this becomes our lifespan as humans. So we are saying that this branch of psychology examines both universal patterns of behavior, development, and individual variations. As individuals as we are, we may have developmental lifespans which are different and unique to each individual. So we want to find out how the development occurs in each individual depending upon the age range and the environment where you find yourself and the hereditary product that you are actually made up of. We are also saying that psychology explores the biological, environmental, and that of the cultural factors which influence growth and then behavior. So as humans, it's very important for us to understand the fact that though behavior and at times the way we grow and mature may be controlled by genetic factors which we don't have control over, at times with the environment where we find ourselves contributes much largely to the way we develop, the way we grow, and the way we begin to see ourselves in the context of other human beings. So behavior is something that we cannot actually control at times, but the genetic aspect of it is what is so much important, but the environment you find yourself also contributes much largely to how you are going to see yourself behaving and developing in society. We are looking at key concepts like growth, and growth is something that we need to understand because it is very unique and very basic concept in psychology. So talking about growth, we are looking at the aspect of the physical changes that occurs in us as human beings, and these are behaviors that are observable and they are measurable. For instance, height, weight, and then size. These are things that we can all observe and we can even quantify and then measure. So we are saying that growth as a concept in psychology, it is quantifiable, it is measurable, and it's influenced by genetics, which will mean that the environment you find yourself does not have control over how you are going to be tall or short. These are genetics, and then environment has no much influence in it. Your genetic makeup is something that is given to you either by your parents or by your great-grandparents, and they are called genes. So you inherit some kind of genes or chromosomes from your parents, and this determines how your makeup is going to be, whether you are going to be tall, you are going to be plumpy, you are going to have weight, or you are going to be somebody who is slim. These are things that are influenced by genetics. Another concept we want to look at is maturation. When we're talking about maturation, we are referring to the intellectual or emotional aspect of our development. And these changes are largely qualitative, which will mean that as the first one, which was growth, is quantitative, maturation is qualitative because we cannot measure it. We cannot quantify it, and we cannot observe, because these are things that are invisible to us, but we are much interested in it because it plays a key role when we want to understand how psychology of human development and learning is. Another key important thing we want to look at is development. When we're talking about development, we are looking at the comprehensive changes, including the physical and cognitive, emotional, and behavioral changes that occurs in humans. This forms part of your developmental pattern. So as humans as we are, we may have different developmental patterns based on the fact that we are unique, and the genes that we inherit from our parents are different. The environment we also find ourselves are also very unique. So all these ones will come together to contribute the development in which we are going to actually experience. So human development in summary entails growth and maturation. So when we put the two concepts, growth and then maturation, then we'll get what we call development. So development is simply the combination of growth and then maturation. So the quantity we are going to see and the quality of the individual, when put together, this is termed as what? Development. We are saying that this course is meant for level 200 students who are offering the course EDC241, Psychology of Human Development and Learning, for the first semester of this academic year. So we are entreating all students to do as much as possible to log in to Radio Winnipeg and listen to us as we start the semester's program. Most of our lecturers may not have the opportunity to teach us this thing again because it's supposed to be taught both radio lecture and then face-to-face. So those who are not able to have met their students last week and the students who could not also meet their lecture, it's an opportunity for you to actually tune in and listen to us so that when there are questions at the end of it, or the radio lines are going to be activated and you can dial in and then give your responses or contribute to the discussion. There are domains of domains of development in psychology which we want to also delve into. First of all, we know that domains are classified according to the various components, and we want to take them one by one and see what each of them will mean. First of all, we want to look at physical domain. And physical domain simply refers to the fact that growth and changes in the body sizes organs and organ system, the motor skills and physical health. All these ones will form part of the physical domain of the individual. So all these ones, we can see that they expand in size. And once they are expanding in size, which will mean that their function also increase tremendously. So these are things that we can see, and once we can see and feel it, they are classified as a physical domain of development. The next domain is cognitive domain. And in cognitive domain, we are thinking about the fact that we think, we solve problems, and we have memory, creativity, and language development. All these ones will come together to form the cognitive domain of our development, which is very important because in terms of cognitive domain, we are looking at the fact that people think differently, people solve problems differently, and our memories are not also the same. Likewise, our creativity and our language development. While some are late developers, others are early developers. So it all depends upon the individual and your genetic makeup and the environment where you find yourself. The next domain of development is emotional domain. And we want to combine the emotional and social. So we have emotional and social domain is the third domain that I want to look at. This deals with the feelings that we have, relationship that we establish with people, the social skills that we develop, and the memory reasoning of the individual. So when you find yourself living with a roommate in a room, then you should be aware that changes may occur, misunderstanding will occur, and then confusion can also occur because your way of thinking, the way you feel, and the way you develop with others, and the way you reason morally will be different from such individual. Even your classmates who are supposed to be partners in helping you to be able to achieve your goals as you are an academic, at times it's difficult to be able to match with people because their way of doing things are totally at variance with yours. So when this happens, we should be aware that it's actually aspect of our emotional and social domain that is influencing the way people do things and the way we do ours differently. We want to look at principles of human development, which is also very important because these principles are going to guide us to be able to understand how growth and development occurs in each individual. The first one we want to look at is that growth is directional, which will mean that we are going to see growth to be divided into two principles, this particular directional one. The first is that growth is cephalocodial and then prosomodistal. The first one, cephalocodial, means that it describes the direction of development where we can see that the state in which the individual finds himself is developing from the top to the down. So cephalocodial development simply means that growth is something that is actually development in nature, but it starts from the top to the bottom. That makes it what? Cephalocodial. And then next one is prosomodistal. This means that the principle actually says that development proceeds from the center of the body outward. So center of the body outward, where development occurs, is termed as what? Prosomodistal. This together will put the two together to form what we call growth is directional. So the next principle is that growth is continuous or epigenetic, which will mean that development, as we see, is continuous throughout our lifespan, and every stage of our mature life has been attained or developed. Development does not end until we die. So which will mean that we keep on developing, we keep on maturing as we grow in life. And these are things that does not end until we leave this world. So the next one is growth is sequential or normative. This actually tells us that every species, including human beings, we have a pattern of development that we actually subscribe to. This pattern is same for everyone. For instance, a child will have to first of all creeps. This same child will have to first of all stand. The child will have to walk before the child babbles and before the child finally talks. So all this one occurs in the individual. It doesn't matter who you are. You have to go through the same procedure. There is no child who will get up and be talking today or be walking today without first of all creeping or standing. And the child will have to fall several times and get up. This determination will finally see the child walking one day. So it means that growth is sequential and it's an orderly way of developing, which the individual has no control over. But these are things that will happen with respect to the age the individual attains at every point in time. The next principle is that growth proceeds from general to specific. We are referring to the fact that in every type of development, the general activities we actually engage in are very general. But then at the end of it, or when we begin to refine the fine motor skills, we can now be able to do some specific things that we couldn't do when we were growing. So we are saying that in terms of development, we are saying that it proceeds from general to specific. You first of all engage in general activities. At the end of it, or you will see yourself being able to do some specific things which you couldn't do when you were a child. So for instance, you will see that general movement with the eyes, the arms, and the legs, these are specific things that the individual can do. So that when you are a child, you cannot control your arms, you cannot control your legs. But as you advance in age, you realize that you're able to control your arms, control your eyes, control your legs, and the way you do your things, which means that you've been able to move from the general development to the specific development. So after the perfection of this general movement, infants now learn to make specific movement, as we rightly said. So we are welcome to EDC241, Psychology of Human Development and Learning. This is meant for level 200 students, and we are encouraging that those who are not having lectures now should try their possible best to log into Radio Windy Bay and listen to us as we have little discussion on the foundations of this course for the semester. This is the very first topic that we are supposed to go through, and then lecturers may not have the opportunity to take us through in classes because the work is so much voluminous that we need to share it in bit. That's why we have the opportunity to listen, and at the right time the phone lines will be activated and you can phone in and then ask your questions and also contribute to the discussion. The next principle of growth and development is that growth and development is asynchronous, which will mean that the rate of development varies from person to person. Development rate is not uniform, which will mean that boys and girls have different developmental and growth patterns, where we always see that the girls will grow faster and develop faster than the boys. By the end of it, you realize that because of their gender differences, we are not saying that they will grow at a very significant rate, but the fact that they are boys and girls, the genetic makeup are different, so they will grow at different rate and develop at different rate. But normally, it's the girls that will develop faster as compared to the boys. The next principle of growth and development is that development is influenced by both genetic and environmental factors. At times, we term these factors as what? Nature and then nurture. Nature and then nurture, which will mean that the environment and then the genetic all come together to determine how you are going to develop as an individual. So when you have poor nutrition, for instance, it can mar the growth of the individual, and then this will reduce the intellectual ability and then the stature. So malnutrition will mean that it is an environmental factor which may have significant effect on how you grow and how you develop. So we need to be aware that when children are growing up, this is very important, because if they don't get the right nutrition in the right proportion, this can impair their development and their growth. Then we want to say that having gone through the principles, as educationists who are going to teach children in the classroom, we have some educational implications that we want to actually look at. These are not all the educational implications. These are just a few of them. So as we go with our readings, let's begin to note down some of the key educational implications of understanding the basic concepts of psychology and human development. We're talking about growth, we're talking about maturation, and then development. In the first place, curriculum designers should be aware and consider the fact that developmental stages are things that are unique to the individual, so that when they are designing their lesson, they're able to tailor it to the unique developmental stage of the individual, where the individual is going to actually benefit so much from the classroom. It should be tailored to the extent that it doesn't matter your age differences, but once you are in the same classroom with others, you should be able to understand what is going to be taught in class, and that should benefit you as well. As teachers and instructors, we need to have our teaching methods suited to the level of our students, because the cognitive and the emotional capacity of the individual are different. So we need to actually tailor our teaching methods to the extent that it caters for the individual and unique needs of our learners. In terms of classroom activities, we are saying that it should promote holistic development. You know, development, if we say holistic, we are talking about the cognitive, the affective, and then the psychomotor. All these ones are inclusive in terms of holistic development. So whatever lesson that we are going to design for our learners, we should be able to cater for all these differences and make sure that at the end of the lesson, the child can develop in all these three aspects, which will make the child a very holistic individual in the society. Now, we are also saying that in terms of the educational implication also, we have to address individual differences through what differentiated instructions, which will mean that learners, as we see them in classrooms, some of them are low learners, others are average learners, and some are gifted and some are exceptional. So in trying to cater for their unique differences, we should be able to design our lessons where the gifted ones are given some kind of different activities that will make them engage and they will not be loitering and disturbing others. Then the slow and those who are able to learn at slower pace, we should also design activities that will cater for their unique way of learning, or else the smart ones or the intelligent ones will tend to bully the slow learners. At the end of it all, they may not benefit so much from the classroom. So we are saying that we should be able to understand that at any point in time, the students that we meet are different and their intelligent abilities are also very different. So we should be able to cater for all of them once they are in the classroom and they are going to benefit from our lessons. And the other one I want to consider is that activities for children should align with the natural progression of development, moving from simple to complex. Where you are going to give children activities, it shouldn't be things that they should be able to do the complex ones first. They should start with the simple ones. As they go with the simple ones, they sharpen their skills and they are able to now advance to be able to do the complex. So activities that you give to children in the classroom should be things that we should consider to be very much important, because if you give them complex activities, they cannot understand and that will confuse them. So we should always make sure that they are able to do the simple ones. Then from there, we'll be able to progress to the more complex ones. Then when that happens, we can be sure that our students are going to obtain the maximum benefit once they are in their classroom. We are on Radio Windy Bay, we are live, and we are asking our students to be aware that this is a radio lecture and it's part of instruction that we have actually designed for our students. So those who are not having lectures should do themselves a favor by logging on to listen to the discussion. At the right time, the phone lines will be activated. You can call and ask your questions and contribute to the discussion. Remember, it is part of lecture series that we have been organizing over the years. So we are saying that the course is EDC241, Psychology of Human Development and Learning, and it's meant for level 200 students. Some will be doing this semester, others will do it next semester. It doesn't matter. You can still listen so that next semester when it is being taught, you can understand it better. So having gotten here, we want to recap what we have done for the past few minutes so that if there's any question, the phone lines will be activated and you can phone in and then give in your contribution and also ask questions where you felt that you didn't understand very well. We are looking at the fact that psychology of human development and learning is a scientific study of how and why people grow, how people change and they adapt across their lifespan. And we say lifespan simply means from conception to death. And we say that psychology of human development and learning also focus on understanding the physical, the cognitive, emotional, social, and the moral changes that occur from conception to death. This branch of psychology, as we said, deals with the universal patterns of development and in the individual variations. Now we went to look at some basic concepts like growth, and we're talking about growth to be the physical things that we can see, like height, weight, and then size. And these are things that we can observe, we can measure, and then quantify. The maturation has to do with the fact that it is the emotional aspect of development, and these changes are largely qualitative, while that of growth is quantitative. Then development, we put maturation and growth together to get development. So development, in summary, is simply the comprehensive changes, including the physical, cognitive, emotional, and social development of an individual. So we are also saying that there are some domains of development which we look at. We look at the physical domain that talk about growth changes in the body sizes, the organs, and the organ system. Then we also look at the motor skills and the physical health. Then the cognitive domain, as we said earlier, involves thinking, involves problem solving, memory, and cognitive creativity, and then language. Then the emotional and social development deals with feelings, relationships, social skills, and that of moral reasoning. Then we said there are some key set of principles in human development and learning, and the first one we talk about is that growth is directional. And we are saying that this one is divided into two. We have one we call the cephalopodia principle, which describes the fact that growth is something that is actually proceeding from the top to the down. Growth proceeds from the development proceeds from the top to the down. And the next one we talk about was prodemosis, which means that growth actually starts from the center and proceeds outside of the body. Then the next one, growth is continuum, which will mean that it is epigenetic in the sense that it goes on continuously throughout our lives and it doesn't end. And maturation has something that we all attain. We don't actually have a limit that we say that I'll finish maturing. You keep maturing even up to the time that you will die. Then the next principle we talk about is that growth is sequential or normative. This means that every species, including we as humans, will follow a pattern of development, and this pattern of development is something that is the same for all of us. It doesn't matter where you find yourself. It doesn't matter the chromosomes that you have or the genetic inheritance that you have inherited from your parents. It's the same for all of us. For instance, children have to first of all creep. They have to first of all stand. They will walk and then babble before they start talking finally. Then we are also saying that growth proceeds from general to specific, which will mean that in terms of growth, you are able to engage in general activities without being specific with any of them. But as time goes on, you will see that you are able to do some specific things like controlling your arms, your eyes, and your legs, which will mean that you are not specific with the organs of the body. Then after you have attained all these general ones, then you will now be able to do specific ones. Now, the next principle we said is that growth and development is synchronous, which will mean that synchronous means the rate varies from person to person. And development, as we see in girls, may not be the same as those in boys, because the pattern of development in girls is normally very fast as compared to that of boys. And we are saying that development is influenced by both genetic and environmental factors. So poor nutrition, for instance, is an environmental factor, and that can have influence on the individual's development. But in terms of the genes that you inherit from your parent, they are genetic in nature, and you don't have control over. At times, the genetic and the environmental influence, we say they are also the same as nature and then nurture. So we are saying that these ones also come together to determine how we are going to look in terms of our intelligence, abilities, and our stature. And we look at educational implications briefly, where we'll say that in terms of curriculum design, they should be aware that developmental has some stages, and the children who are learning have to go through this stage to be able to understand key concepts. So when the curriculum is being designed, they should take notice of this one and then make it in such a way that it will be tailored to the developmental needs of the student at every stage of their development. Then we as instructors, our teaching method should be something that should be cognitive and emotional to be able to take care of this particular aspect of development of the child. We should not limit our question to only the cognitive, but it should also be something that should deal with emotional, psychomotor, and then affective domains. Should cater for all the domains of the individual, which will make development and growth to be something holistic. Then in terms of addressing individual differences through our way of teaching, it should be done through differentiated instruction. Learners who are gifted, those who are slow learners, and those who are average learners, our lessons should be designed in such a way that it caters for all the unique needs of these students. Then we are saying that activities for children should align with the natural progression of development, moving from simple to complex. And having gotten here, the phone lines are activated, and the lines are 050-392-3158, 050-3923-158. You can call in, send your text messages, and let us listen to your concerns, and we'll help you address them. The course is an introductory course. It's meant for level 200 students, and the course is EDC241, Psychology of Human Development and Learning, for level 200 students. And I know for economics, geography, political science, you are doing it this semester. So those of us who are not having lectures at this time, want to encourage you to call in and then send your messages, and let's get your concerns and we'll help you address them. Thank you very much for listening. much. So we want to wrap up with our lesson, EDC241, Psychology of Human Development and Learning. And we are saying that it's meant for level 200 students. Some will be doing this semester, others will have the opportunity to do it next semester. So we are saying that this course is actually having some key concepts that I want to delve into, which we say the first thing is I want to understand what is meant by psychology in the first place. And we are saying that psychology is a scientific study of behavior and mental processes, where we said in the definition there are some key words that I want to take notice of, and the words are science, behavior, and mental processes. And we are saying that the word psychology comes from the Greek word, and the first one was psyche, and psyche means that mind. Then the word next one is what logia or logos, depending upon plural and then the singular form of it. And that means the study of something. So when we put the words together, we will now say that psychology is a scientific study of what mental processes. And we want to say that when we understand it this way, there are some key goals that actually governs the course psychology. And we are saying that the goals will describe behavior, the goals will also try to explain behavior and try to predict behavior and control our behavior. Then we say that psychology of human development and learning is something that we need to understand in terms of the physical, the cognitive, emotional, social, and moral changes that occurs from conception to death. And we are saying that in terms of the branch of psychology, looking at development and the individual variations, we understand the fact that as humans as we are very unique and we cannot be the same. For that matter, in terms of our biological makeup, the environment where we find ourselves and the cultural factors that influence how we grow and how we behave are unique as compared to every individual. Now we are saying that the key concepts that we also want to take notice of are growth, and we are saying that growth simply refers to the physical changes such as the height, the weight, body size, and this one is quantifiable and measurable, and it is actually influenced by genetic factors. Then we are saying that maturation deals with the intellectual or emotional aspect of our development, and the changes are largely qualitative in nature. So the next one is development. We are saying that development is actually the combination of both the growth and the maturation. So we can define development as a comprehensive changes including the physical, cognitive, emotional, and then social development of the individual. So we are saying that in terms of the principles of human development and learning, there are some key principles that we look at. First one we look at is that growth is directional, and we say this one can be divided into two. The first one is that cephalopodia principle states that it describes the direction of development, and it says that development proceeds from the top to the down, And the next one is that growth is something that we say that is having a principle known as prosymodistal principle, which means that the development or the growth as we see proceeds from the center of the body outward. That principle is called prosymodistal principle. Now we are also saying that growth is continuous, or at times we call it epigenetic principle, which says that development goes on continuously throughout our lifespan. And our lifespan simply means from the very time we were conceived to the time we die, constitute our lifespan. And we are saying that in terms of maturation, we don't have any limit that we say we are finished maturing. We keep on maturing even up to the time that we will die. So we are saying that development is sequential or normative. That tells us that every species, as humans as we are, we form part of species, we follow a pattern of development. And this pattern is the same for every individual, which will mean that before you can do some activities as a human being, you have to first of all begin somewhere. So for instance, a child will have to first of all creep. The child will have to stand before the child walks, and before the child is found talking. So these are things that need to be consistent with every individual. It doesn't matter your genetic makeup and the environment where you find yourself. These are things that are nature and nobody has control over. The next principle is that development proceeds from general to specific. You'll be able to perform general activities before you can now actually refine the motor skill to be able to do specific activities, just like you control your eyes, you blink your eyes, you're able to control your arms and your legs. Children will not have the opportunity to be able to do that, but adults as we are able to control our eyes, we're able to control our arms and our legs and every part of our body. This means that we have been able to proceed from general to specific. So as children, when they learn to be able to do the general one, then they will now learn how to be able to manage the specific activities or maybe things that they will actually do in terms of movement and how they do their things. The next one is that growth and development is synchronous. Asynchronous simply means that they vary from person to person, and it is the same as we see for boys and the same as we see for girls. But when we want to compare girls and boys, we normally see that the girls will develop faster than the boys. Even the boys, some will have different developmental rate as compared to others. And the girls too may not be the same when you want to compare girls and girls. They may have different way of developing and different ways of growing based on their genetic makeup and environment where they find themselves. Diet can contribute to some of these things as we see. So I'm also saying that development is influenced by both genetic and then environmental factors. So these factors, we group them as what? Nature and then nurture. Nature and nature, which will mean that poor nutrition will have an adverse effect on the individual in terms of how you grow, and the genetic makeup of the individual in terms of the chromosomes and the genes that you inherit from your parents may also have an effect on how you are going to grow. So we are saying that looking at all these ones, what is the implication of this to us as instructors who are going to be teaching children every now and then? We are saying that first of all, curriculum designers should be aware and consider the fact that developmental stages are unique and they go through a particular pattern. So in designing the curriculum, it should go through that pattern for every learner to benefit as they actually find themselves in the classroom. Then we as instructors, our teaching method should be aligned with cognitive and emotional capacities of our children so that the children will have opportunity to be able to benefit from their class when they are actually being taught by us, so that we shouldn't neglect any aspect of their development, but it should be something that should consider a holistic development of the child, where we're talking about the cognitive, the affective, and then psychomotor. We are also saying that in terms of addressing individual differences, we can do this through what we call differentiated instruction, where learners are given different activities based on their intelligent quotient. Those who are slow learners, you should be able to give them activities that match their level of intelligence. Those who are average learners and those who are exceptional or gifted, the activities should be unique so that it will keep them engaged and then distract others from learning. They were saying that activities for children should also align with natural progression, where we are going to see to be moving from simple to complex. So give activities to children, we should consider the level of their development so that it doesn't become something that they are giving activities which will be above their developmental stage and they cannot actually be able to execute them properly. So we are saying that we thank every person for listening, especially our students, for this opportunity, because it is something that has been insightful and we have actually learned something. So I want to say that thank you very much for the opportunity, and having listened to us, I want to say that have a blessed day.
University of Education, Winneba, Radio Windy Bay 98.3 FM. Senior Debia, the Bremono, and Afiason, Afe Naya level 100 from Baba Kayensa, Naya Nomo Asia Ade Abom for 2024-2025 academic year. Nisentie, Branamani won't call Namnio. What's your name?
Benjamin Boama, French education. Oh, to be honest, I was kind of nervous because I've not been to such a place before, so I was actually nervous. But when I came here, I found out that everything was just as normal as everywhere. So I'm expecting to have a smooth journey to my final year.
Pacho friend Udu Mesa Daniel. I'll be free to Abuja myself. Oh, this is my first time I'm a bar. And this first time so me too coin. Me ankasa no me too coin gidi da. Aha nti many ajepa many experience people here wo coin mu. Aha nti we ababe history. This is first time babi amakwasi aye sunwan. Aha nti we ababe history wo mabrabo ma. Aha na de me say ni gise na ma tene me say de ababe no sunyan kopon be adom na yakota ye yakwakodu.
I'm Isaac Ayu from Nkari, straight away from Kumasi. Actually, it was a quite interesting journey, but we have already met some people in the bars, and it's very interesting. We are here to actually build up our academic performance, learn how to interact with people, and get a lot of exposure from here. Then we go out, find something to do to help Mother Ghana.
Yeah, from me, Maredi JMP. Me friend carry in the Ashanti region. Me ba me niaje. You was Simpa Hall, you Goose Hall, like entrance. So the only video no, the same.
First of all, the affiliates coming who are affiliated to Simpa Hall, they should understand that Simpa Hall is not just a hall. It's one of the biggest and greatest hall in the University of Education, Winneba. So we are called custodians and we stand for greatness. So as they are coming, they should see themselves as unique. They should work hard, and in case there is not something they find difficult, they should try and consult the executives, and we are here to assist them. Thank you.
Okay, so all I would say is that as they come, they should participate in hall activities, focus more on their education, and also involve themselves in campus activities that will help build their holistic life.
Hello, my name is Amina Abisibanan, a media personality at Radio Windy Bay 98.3 FM. Kindly follow us on all our social media handles. You can find us on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. Follow us on www.uew.edu.gh. We are the ultimate in campus radio.
Fellow Ghanaians, my name is Osman Mumini, Head of Multimedia of Radio Windy Bay. Keep listening to Radio Windy Bay 98.3 FM, the ultimate in campus radio.
Hello there, this is Haruna Aaron Adam, a student presenter at Radio Windy Bay, and I'm with the multimedia team. You can follow us on all social media handles. Radio Windy Bay 98.3 FM, the ultimate in campus radio.
Swala nyeme mi banye de umanye achomi Amina Abisibanan michwoni ye Radio Windy Bay 98.3 FM ye find and ye follow our ye Radio Windy Bay ye Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, ke TikTok. Radio Windy